up, everybody? Welcome back to I Believe in Humans. I am your host with the most, Summer Dawn, and my co-host, lucky number 7 over there.
7.
It's a little inside. If you don't understand that joke, I would invite you to revisit the introduction. All right, be a good little listener. Give that a click and a download. But anyway, I'm Justin. He's Dustin. Dustin, how you doing today, bud?
I'm feeling pretty good. I got myself a little drink right here and ready for our first episode. It's our first one. I'm excited to see how far we can take this.
Dude, I am so excited, right? It's like I feel like I'm like a giddy little virgin, right? I just can't wait to get this cherry popped right now, okay?
It's gonna get messy. It's gonna be a messy one.
Yeah, real messy. I'm digging that shirt, by the way. Would you make a trip to H&M recently?
Oh, that's Target, baby.
Is that Target?
Target right there.
Are you in?
That's where I get most of my stuff.
Are you in the big boy sizes? Or are you still shopping at Baby Gap?
Come on, look at this dad bod.
Whoo! For those of you who are listening in your car, he's showing off the guns there. I don't know where he got those guns. Maybe from mowing his lawn or something like that. Because I know he's definitely not.
It's a push mower. Yeah, it's a push mower.
Yeah, when you're a dad, you don't have any time for the gym. You just make podcasts in your basement, right?
And you take pride in your lawn.
So, Dustin, episode 1, we sort of introduced in the last episode stuff that we're going to talk about, but I couldn't be more thrilled today. This is kind of like the episode that kind of started it us all. This is the information that started all of this for us personally, I know. And what we're talking about is sort of the Department of Defense's admission that UFOs, or UAPs, again, as they've rebranded them, are real. And so we're going to be talking about the USS Nimitz incident, right? We're talking about the 3 videos that they released, known as the TicTac, the Gimble, and the Gofast videos, which are really sort of cool videos that are United States fighter pilots tracking these unidentified objects in restricted airspace. So there were these training exercises that were happening from these carrier battle groups. And if people don't know, on the front of these jets, they have like infrared and like night vision type cameras and sensors, of course, so they can see where they're going and what they're doing. And so they recorded video of actually chasing these things. So we're going to be breaking that down and give you some information on the timeline. But yeah, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, you can see I dressed to impress here, right?
I was gonna let that go for as long as possible before we address that. I was gonna see how long you'd keep that sucker on there, but what do we got? What do we got going on there? What is that?
I mean, let's be honest. When you set out to you tell your friends and family like, hey, check out this podcast I'm doing. Oh, what are you talking about? We're talking about like aliens and disclosure and space, and everyone just assumes you're some sort of conspiracy theorist who wears a tinfoil hat and lives in his basement, with his mom upstairs. So I just figured I would feed right into that. Like, let's just address that head on. You never know who's listening, right? This is sort of my, I don't know. Some say it looks like a cowboy hat, but I've kind of got this fin up top here.
What is that? Oh, I thought it was a chicken for a second. A foiled
It's
chicken.
like my mohawk. I was saying.
Okay, silver mohawk. I like it.
I feel like
I don't think it's going to protect you from anything.
Right. Well, I think they can't read my mind this way, and also if the
is that what it's for? Okay.
The secret cabal is listening here, they can't send me any sort of telepathic waves. By the way, if you can't see what I'm wearing, that's because you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet. So make sure you go over there and check it out for exclusive content like
go like, comment, subscribe hats right now. If you're going to show off your children's artwork, I'm going to show off mine. I was in California for a week, and my daughter Autumn freehanded painted this for me. We got, looks like Saturn there, a little astronaut. We got Earth.
Look at that.
The sun, and she had no idea that we were working on this, and it was just it was one of those wonderful surprises. And it's kind of cool because right now Saturn and Jupiter in this partial planetary alignment. It's really cool. I don't know if you guys can see it in my side of the world. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. You look up, one of the brightest stars in the sky is Jupiter. I think 2020 will probably be a year that Jupiter is like one of its most brightest in our lifetime. or at least for a while anyway. And it's really cool. You could see Saturn right next to it. And I thought it was really interesting that she just did that without even knowing any of that information. And I was really proud of her because she's only 6, and I thought she did a pretty good job.
Good for you. Look at you. She's like a little Pablo Picasso there.
Yeah,
so good for her. You know, if you guys like, maybe what we could do is, if people like that autumn, and like, you know, we could sell little posters of that, and maybe some
make
cool
a little T-shirt or something.
Tinfoil hats. Let's sell them on the website. That'll encourage.
I don't think anyone's going to buy your tinfoil hat, but
dude, you never know. It's like a Faraday cage for your skull. Okay. So if you don't know what a Faraday cage is, look it up. All right. So anyway, back to the real stuff. Before we take a look at these videos and we start talking about them, Dustin, let me just give you a quick timeline here for people that don't know this. Okay. So respectively, these incidents. Okay. So the first incident in the video they have is going to be the USS Nimitz incident. Okay. So this incident occurred back on November 14th, 2004. Colloquially, this is known as the TicTac or Flir video. So if you're doing your Google search there, that's what you'll be looking for. The other two videos, the Gimble and the Gofast video, these both occurred, these incidences occurred in January of 2015. Okay. Now, the earliest that we hear of them and that the videos are sort of leaked is To the Stars Academy. Again, Tom DeLonge's research project there, the Arts and Sciences. To the Stars Academy first publishes the video in December of 2017, so that's 2 years after the fact there. And then the New York Times publishes the videos and picks up the story and releases that on March 2018. Okay. Now, why is this important? Because what we see is, as they start to leak the story, they sort of back the military and the government into a corner. So what we see is then on September 19th, 2019, so this was last year, finally the Navy confirms that the footage is real, okay? They cannot hide from it. Now, that's already groundbreaking, right? We have a full-on branch, and I believe that the Navy is one of, if not the largest branch of the military. I'm sure we'll get some phone calls from veterans listening that will clarify that for me. But the Navy is huge, and that's who these obviously who's overseeing these carrier battle groups. So they're the ones that are looking at the intelligence, right? They get the videos, they get the radar footage, they get the testimony from the pilots. These are their guys, and they're saying that this is real footage. This is not doctored. This is not some guy in a tinfoil hat in his basement photoshopping this stuff, okay? So they claim that it's real. And then the bombshell of all bombshells, they just sort of slipped this in during this pandemic coronavirus season, is on April 27th, 2020, right in the heart of the pandemic here. The Pentagon and the Department of Defense admit that the videos are real, and they are classified as unidentified. And I'll just read a brief excerpt here so the audience can know exactly. And this is from an NBC News article that I read. So if you want to read the full article, we'll link it to the website. Okay. The Department of Defense is releasing the videos in order to clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage that has been circulating was real, or whether or not there is more to the videos. It added, the aerial phenomena observed in the videos remain characterized as unidentified. Two things on why this is huge is, one, that language. Sorry guys, but that's as exciting as it gets. I know it wasn't the most exciting thing to hear me read it, but that's as like colorful as the military will ever get when it's approaching this subject, right? So they're not going to be like, boom, it's aliens, whatever, blah blah blah, right? But they're saying, these are real videos. We still have them classified as unidentified. We don't know what they are. So one, it's amazing that they're using that language, but two, it's also amazing that the Pentagon and the Department of Defense is. So I want to paint this picture, is that you have one branch, one small entity in our national security apparatus of that is the Navy. And then you have like the umbrella that sits over top of them, which is the Department of Defense. So what that means is basically it worked itself all the way up to some high-ranking person that was like, All right, I guess I got to come clean about this. And that's pretty powerful, right, Dustin?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is such a huge deal. This is the first time that they've admitted that these things, they didn't know what these things are. I mean, Roswell, it was, oh, it's a weather balloon, or it's a sun flare. There's always some bullshit excuse claiming that it's something else. And this is the first time they admitted, yeah, we don't know what this is. And that's a big step. That's a big deal. And it's just a blip on the media radar. And it makes you wonder why? Why now? Why are they released like in the middle of all this chaos of 2020? Here's a few videos, UFO videos, and they're real.
Yeah. So one thing, why would they release something like that during a pandemic? Well, that's when it's going to get the least media coverage. So that's got to be strategic, right? It's just like politicians making big, sort of big bills passing and stuff like that, and announcing them on like Sundays or like the day before Thanksgiving or Christmas, when you're with your family, you're worried about anything and everything except for politics and the new. You're not paying attention to the news cycle, right? So to them it's perfectly timed because they don't want to talk about it, right? They were forced into it because of To the Stars Academy and the New York Times. So credit to them, to those people, for pushing the envelope. And to be honest, I think that this is the way that, when people talk about disclosure, I mean, this is it. This is the first big shoe to fall. I don't know when people think, well, I don't know about that, and I don't know about UFOs or aliens or all that stuff. I need to see some hard proof. Like this is as good as it gets. You're not going to get some like press conference at the White House where like, Snarlglack, the intergalactic visitor, is like out there rubbing shoulders with the president, being like, "Oh, by the way, aliens are real. Here's one of them now to tell us."
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day, but it's going to be a slow play, and it's going to be in sort of like strategic, boring lawyer politician talk, the way that they just release that statement, right? It's just like there it is. It is what it is. So before we get too far, though, if you haven't seen these videos, obviously you can go to YouTube. We'll put them up on on our channel. But let's have Tomas pull up the first one that I think is the most sort of like interesting and compelling, which is what's known as the Gimble video. All right. So if we can roll that, Tomas, go ahead.
Dude, this is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
Wow. So, I mean, I've seen that video a bunch of times, and every time I see it, it still gives me this like tingly sensation, right? The hair sort of stands up because it's like, what is that, right? Like, you got to realize, it looks like a spinning top. So if you're listening to the podcast, obviously you're not seeing the video, but it looks like a spinning top. It's literally a saucer-shaped object, and then you can hear them sort of mid-video. They say, look, it's rotating, right? They're talking about how fast the wind is moving against it, and it just sort of rotates as if it's not bound by the natural law of physics that we know, right? It just doesn't make sense, and you can hear the confusion. Yeah, you can hear the confusion in the pilots' voices.
And the excitement. I mean, they're extremely excited to witness that, and you can hear that in their voice. It's pretty genuine. I mean, I can't even imagine seeing that with my own eyes. Like, it took me a while. Like, once you see the video, it's not crystal clear, and it's through their instruments. So, but when you understand what you're looking at, it's thermal imaging, and when you actually look at it, it's super cold. It's colder than the surface of the ocean. That's not for an aerial spacecraft that should have an entrail that's hot, and that's not showing any of that. And so, for it to make these maneuvers at that temperature, at that rate of speed, it's pretty incredible evidence.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's clearly not propulsion based in terms of rockets or airplanes. The way we know there's no contrails, there's no plume behind it. And there's also, Tomas, if you can go back to the video real quick, I know you were showing that, but there's also seems to be this like sort of halo that's sort of encompassing it, which is interesting because if you read up about sort of the only thing that would explain on how it's like operating in, independent of the laws of physics and gravity, essentially, is that it has to have some sort of anti-gravitation. It has to be operating in its own gravity, which would explain its speed and its ability to rotate on its own axis, right? And what's fascinating is you have to these videos were blown out there obviously by To the Stars Academy, and if you watch the season 1 of Unidentified, which is the show they put out on the History Channel, they break down these videos like ad nauseum. So we're just sort of giving you like the Cliff Notes overview. But what they're doing is they're talking about why these videos are not only so important in terms of what is happening in the video, but it's who is seeing it, who is chasing it. Like we're firsthand, like you said, in the cockpit with these young guys that are probably our age. Like I think the average age of a fighter pilot is, they're officers in the military, is like late 20s, early 30s, right? So these are like young, fit, smart guys that we've invested as taxpayers like millions of dollars into their education to be able to fly these airplanes, these fighter jets that are worth $35 million an airplane. These are not like people that are looking to get famous, or they're not people that are looking for to stir the pot, right? Like they're just up there doing their job, training. They see something wild. Kudos to them for being able to even track the thing and get it lined up and get it sort of. It looked like, I'm no expert.
Yeah, I think that's why they were so excited.
Yeah, I mean, good for them for chasing it down. Like, that's awesome. And, if we're not going to listen to what people like these guys have to say when they talk about like being trained observers and stuff like this, these guys are as credible as it gets, right? And that's why I think the military sort of backed into this corner and they can't deny that what we're seeing is real. And they can't go against their own pilots, because then they would in a way they're sort of admitting failure, right? Like they're admitting like we're just letting anybody up there fly a plane. It's crazy people that believe in UFOs too, right? That's crazy. So it's such a powerful thing.
Yeah, it's also just scratching the surface. Like these are the first 3 videos that they declassified because they're almost forced to, but it was also at the same time they were able to, because this didn't give away any other information besides we tracked this vehicle to. Right. I could see why our government is hiding and classifying certain specific events, because it can implement our airspace and our defenses. You don't want our enemy knowing that. That's pretty easy to do. That's what's scary about it, is that these vehicles are entering our military airspace with full impunity. Like they can and just come and go as they please, but we're not spending money to research that. That doesn't make any sense to me, because that was within 15 minutes from the state capitol. Like that should be a big deal. If there's an unidentified flying object coming into military airspace, they cannot track it because it's going so freaking fast, moving intelligently at will. And that specific video, you don't see the rest of it, but it was actually a fleet. That was that specific object that they were able to track, but supposedly there was a fleet of information these lights that was
Yeah, I think you hear
leading the way.
I think you hear the pilots make a reference to like, look, there's like a bunch of them or something, right? Like if you go back and you listen to that audio, they are mentioning that there's more than one. On that note, though, because you are on that article that we'll link on the website, that same article you mentioned is that back in 2007, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid actually funded a UFO research program, and he allocated $22 million towards that program. And when these videos were released, Dustin, he was the one that was quoted as saying what you said, that these videos are merely scratching the surface in terms of what the Pentagon has on file. Now, again, that is Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. That is a lifetime career politician, right? That is not just some that's not some guy with a crazy hairstyle that shows up in memes. This is a legitimate person that had like a career that could be potentially soiled, a reputation that could be sullied if he comes out about this stuff, right? So he was clearly a believer. You don't just fund a program and allocate $22 million towards a crapshoot, right? So he thought something was going on. He was obviously excited about that, but I think that was a really good point, Dustin. The other thing is, let's take a look at Tomas. Go back to the first one, which is, I believe, the TicTac video or whatever. So another thing, Dustin, you said is, the Gimble video, I believe, was off the eastern seaboard, just outside of, pretty close to the nation's capital, like you said. Like, I believe people don't realize that the United States airspace is, I think it stretches from our coastline about 200 miles out into the ocean, okay? And so 200 miles off the coast is still considered sovereign American waters and airspace.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if something is flying inside that 200 miles that is not registered by the FAA or is not blipping, is not sending a signal, is not trackable, and we don't know what that is, we should find out. Because if it's another country, if it's an adversary, obviously, like you said, they're entering and exiting restricted airspace willy-nilly. If it's not of this planet, right? Just because the Pentagon and Department of Defense says that these UFOs are real, let's not jump to conclusions. That's not them saying aliens are real. I want to be clear about that. We're not going to tumble too far down there. They're saying it's unidentified. They're not saying it's being flown by a little green man. They're just saying we don't know what it is. It's not ours, and it's not any technology that we're aware of. You can even hear the pilot.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's not. I think it very well could be us. I mean, if we don't want our enemy knowing what kind of technology we have. And if we do have that kind of technology, wouldn't you want to test it against the best? Wouldn't you want to come in and out of military airspace with your star destroyers, your fleet, and track it? And they're able to do that, get in and out. And I think it was a good test if that was the case, Right. I still think it was otherworldly, but that's my opinion.
Well, you bring up a good point there. Again, and to sort of clean that up a little bit is you bring up a good point then. Okay, so a lot of people believe that, like Roswell, right? That Roswell happened. Other countries have their versions of Roswell type stories, but a lot of people believe that in Area 51 and S4 and these different areas that there are some secret government testing, right? So maybe it's not... I don't know where the original would have came from or the blueprints would have come from, but there's a lot of people. Yeah, reverse engineered. That's one story.
From alien technology.
Let's say it's not alien technology. Okay, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say it's not alien technology, and it is some sort of secret flying program that we are developing. Okay, I think you're absolutely right that you would you want to keep it a secret. Right, but you need to test it, so you fly a little close to like the F-16s and the stuff that are right. You see, can the regular pilots track it? What can they do? And that's how you can kind of get feedback and data, right? So like, I think that people think that the government as a whole, we've watched a lot of television, we think the government as a whole has just some big conspiracy theory, like, right, like everybody's in on it. Like as soon as you're sworn in as president, they'll go like, oh, by the way, UFOs and aliens are real, don't tell anyone. That's not how it is, right? That the elected officials are not, and military, those people come and go, right? So that's why you have people like Harry Reid passing bills and developing programs to research UFOs, because he doesn't know. He's not in the inner circle, right? He's not in the circle of trust. We've all heard the military use the expression need to know. Very few people need to know about these things, okay? So what I'm saying is, okay, so you made the secret craft. You want to test its capabilities against the best and brightest pilots that the world has to offer, which is the United States of America pilots, right? The problem that I have with that is you are endangering not only our pilots and our crew, but like potentially civilians, right? Because you're testing it, but you're not telling anyone you're doing it because you're trying to get like an honest reaction. And what it is these things are operating outside of the realm of possibility of fighter jets. So like, what if a pilot starts chasing this and his engine stalls and he crashes and he dies, or God forbid something happens in a training exercise? Like, that's not fair to that person's family, that like they lost their life because you wanted to keep a secret. So it's like, that would be incredibly frustrating. And that's why I hope that that's not the case, right? And I think that because of that, I think it's highly improbable, but people do believe in that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that that could be a thing. We're not just saying it's straight up aliens right away, although that is what you are saying.
Well, that reminds me of an event that happened in Los Angeles a long time ago. I think it happened shortly after Pearl Harbor was attacked. So, I mean, we were on high alert. But it was before Roswell, I believe, and it happened in Los Angeles. And this was one of the last times, or one of the biggest times, this made front page news. And there was a sighting over Los Angeles, and our military engaged it. And they have a picture of it, and it looks incredible. And they followed that all the way down the coastline, and it was a firefight in the sky, like it was 4th of July, just lit it up, and it didn't destroy it. They supposedly it crashed into the ocean. But they told everyone that it was a test, that it was training. Right. But why would you do that at 3 a.m. over Los Angeles? Like, there was debris, there was injuries, like all this crazy stuff happened, and it's just kind of wild to think that.
Yeah, what Dustin is referencing is it's known as the battle over Los Angeles. So if you Google that, you can look that up. Make sure you search through the Google search. Otherwise, there was a movie called Battle of Los Angeles starring Aaron Eckhart, and it was aliens coming and taking over Los Angeles. So
we could post that picture on our Instagram or something.
Yeah, we could definitely post that picture. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, Dustin. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense for the military. I could see why they would do it, to try and test its capability, but it doesn't make sense to do that over a civilian population where you could make things like 100 times worse. Because if something went awry and you got shot down and crashed in like downtown Los Angeles, not only is your secret exposed, but now you're like, you got a lot to answer for, killing civilians and people. So that's why I'm saying, the idea that this is some sort of secret technology that we have, or maybe another country has, I understand where that would come from, but to me, that's just a little safe. You're not really thinking that fully through, in my opinion, because it doesn't seem to make sense. Like, our military, like, remember with the whole like Osama bin Laden raid, like, all of a sudden, the only reason we know now that America has stealth helicopters is because, unfortunately, one of them crashed on the fence right on the way in, and they had to like blow it up before they got out of there. Trust me, the military wishes that helicopter never crashed and that they had to admit to that, right? Like, the only reason they're admitting to that was because it was a mess up, right? It was a miscalculation, whatever happened, right? But now the cat's out of the bag. So that's how a lot of these things happen. And to be honest, they've been happening, like you said, for a very long time. Do we have the technology now? A lot of people say no. but we definitely didn't have the technology back in like the 1940s that you're talking about, Dustin. So let's take a look at another video before we get too far. Let's show these other people. So Tomas, just take us back to the beginning. I believe it's probably the TicTac one, which is from the Nimitz. This was off the
I think it's the
West
first one's
Coast.
the Gofast, actually.
Is it the Gofast? Let's see what it is.
Yeah, this is the Gofast. Oh, he went to the TicTac. There's the TicTac.
Yep.
Whichever one you want to hit.
Just go with that one. All right, so this is... They've got it squared up.
It's a TicTac video, yeah.
Yeah, these guys are good, man. They get it center mass right in their camera.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this one was moving slow, wasn't it?
Well, it's a little further away. You can see he kind of zoomed out and he switched. So I believe he's looking at the Flir, yeah, and he's trying to track it. You can see his camera's having a hard time keeping pace with it. Yeah, so this is a TicTac. The reason why this is significant is because a lot of pilots have seen these TicTac type objects. In fact, back in World War II, this is what they were known as the Foo Fighters, right? That's kind of where the Foo Fighters got their name, was these mysterious little like orb TicTac like objects would sort of circle and harass the airplanes. It didn't seem like they would really like interfere or like they were too aggressive. They seemed more like surveillance type vehicles. But they seem to kind of buzz the tower and get really close to the planes, which is why I was saying, again, it's a security concern. I don't know of like how it would be beneficial for the military to be flying these types of things super close to like really expensive planes and pilots and endangering anybody's lives just for the sake to see like, can we catch it, right? The military doesn't play, they don't risk things on like that, but this one's pretty cool.
Yeah, when you look at it, it's also, I mean, it's a different shape than the Gimble video, but it has the same signature. So it's still very cold. It has that halo you were talking about around it. I don't think this one's moving as fast as the Gimble. I mean, maybe because we're not seeing any cloud cover in this.
Well, does this one have audio, Tomas? Are the pilots sort of... Look, I'm not a pilot. I don't know how to read their screen and figure out what we're looking at there. But you can hear the pilots in the Gimble video talking about how knots and how fast the wind was blowing.
Yeah, maybe this one doesn't have it.
Yeah, I don't think there's audio on this one.
Yeah. So this one's okay. Go back to the first one. Go to the very first one, Tomas. I think that one has audio. Also, I think this is the Gofast. This is the
moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at it fly. Dude, that is a fucking drone, bro.
And there's the Gimble.
Right. So that one was really cool too, because the first one, the Gofast one, you can hear the guys talk about excitement, right? Like, and I believe those guys end up getting interviewed in the Unidentified season. They're young guys. They're just like us. They're flipping out. But what's cool is you can see that thing is clearly like they're tracking it. It looks like it's flying just above the surface of the ocean. And what's interesting about that, I believe in the Nimitz incident, it was tracked by two different pilots. They talk about how this thing, it could hover like about 500 feet right off the ocean floor, the surface of the ocean, right there. And it was sort of disturbing the water. And then as they approached it, it like shoots vertically to like 50 to 60,000 feet or whatever. And then it takes off and they're like chasing it. So this is just really cool. Like I said, and in the first one, it also gives you a feel because there's sort of a background and you can see it traveling over the surface of the ocean. You get a better feel for how fast this thing is moving. Like look at it whipping past some of those little crests, some of those little waves there, right? Like, it's just really extraordinary.
It is moving and grooving. Yeah. I think watching Unidentified, if you guys haven't, it's on the History Channel. It's fantastic. They're releasing all this information. They have videos. They have testimonials from just high-ranking, credible officers. And I believe the first season when they were talking about these videos in particular, they were interviewing one officer, and he recognized the voices of, because if you listen to the two videos again, they sound similar, and that's how people are trying to debunk it as, oh, it's fake. They brought in a voice actor to say this and that. That officer verified that he knew those pilots, and that's the same voice. They got to witness a couple different events, and those pilots, they witness this stuff almost every time they go up. So like when we say they're just scratching the surface by releasing these videos, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, and these are obviously, not only do they have more videos, but the only reason they allowed these, when you read up the article and what the full release says from the DoD and Pentagon and stuff, the only reason they're sort of fessing up to these videos is because they don't they don't give away any information as far as our capabilities. And there's no secrets in them, right? They're pretty mundane videos. So it begs the question, okay, well, if this is just scratching the surface, not only in the quantity of videos that are out there, what about the quality, right?
Like the magnitude of what's actually happening. Yeah.
Right. That Gimble video of it rotating and stuff, that's pretty intense. And like I said, there's a lot smarter people than you and I that have broken down that video, from astrophysicists to professional Hollywood, film editors and special effects artists.
They can't explain it.
They can't. All anyone can say is that it doesn't obey the law of physics as we know it, and that it's not a doctored video. So I don't know if you're trying to like dispute the reality of this stuff. Like, look, dude, the government doesn't admit to anything ever, and so that's why we're talking about this is like huge. And that's why they chose to do it during the pandemic, is because they're just like, well, let's just like sort of keep this swept under the rug as much as possible, right?
Yeah, everyone that's dissected these videos, they don't know what's happening, but you know who does? Bob Lazar. And if you don't know who Bob Lazar is, we'll cover that in a future episode. But everything he has said about reverse engineering anti-gravity propulsion systems, that's what's happening in this video. Yeah. It corroborates everything that he's said in the past and gotten shamed for it. So it makes it really compelling.
Well, I mean, he's not the only one that sort of, vented this stuff. Like, there's circulating right now for the last few years. There's been something called the Wilson Notes, which, people can look up and you can find on. It was notes of an Admiral Wilson, but we'll do that on another episode as well. But long story short, with that, he's essentially confirming that there are programs that are studying UFOs, and what he sort of finds in his investigation, or what he heard that stuck with me, is that that they basically have had this technology for quite some time and have been attempting to reverse engineer it, just like Bob Lazar was saying, but it's been a futile attempt. They have not been able to make a lot of headway, right? And I think part of that is because they're keeping it a secret, right? It's just like the private space race, where NASA and government funding can only do so much because of the bureaucracy and the red tape and everything that governs it. And as soon as you take the handcuffs off of having to be beholden to like congressmen and senators, and dictating your budget, and you move the space industry into the private sector, all of a sudden there's exponential traction, right? You've got where it used to take you $500 million to launch a space shuttle, a one-time use endeavor, into space. Elon Musk has turned around and made it a $60 million proposition, right? Using reusable rockets and re-entering and stuff. So I think part of the reason why we have seen such a slow roll in this disclosure is because there's not been a lot of progress made. But we are starting to see sort of the fruits of the labor of people like Bob Lazar and like other whistleblowers, that were just sort of ahead of their times. Like Bob Lazar came out in the 80s, right? And it just takes a long time for people to sort of confirm some of the things that you're saying, because when you're talking about technology that like we haven't even begun to think about or dream about, like anti-gravity, like, do you understand that, like, what the ramifications are if we do have or someone does have anti-gravity capabilities? Like, you're talking moving faster than the speed of light. You're talking about going anywhere in the
not that
universe as fast as you want.
That's pretty fast. I don't know about
Yeah,
speed of light,
no,
but faster than the speed of sound.
no, I'm telling you,
Light
when you're
speed?
talking,
Do you think it's possible light speed?
I know it's possible. I'm telling you, when you can bend gravity, you're bending space time. You know, like Star Trek, like the warp drive.
Yeah.
That's what that is like enabling. Because when you hear pilots talk about witnessing these shapes, you got to understand the laws of physics are like, you can't just fly a jet as fast as you can, right? 600, 700 miles an hour, hit the e-brake in the sky, and then pull up.
Kill you.
The G-forces would like, you would like explode your stomach through your guts, like you would die. These things are going like zip, boop, up, like they're shooting 60,000 feet up in a time. They're stopping on a dime, making right angles. The only way that you can explain that, and guys like Bob Lazar and stuff have explained, is when you see that halo around the thing, is if you are controlling and manipulating the gravity around. You are basically not beholden to gravity. So that's why you can go and stop and do things, because it's just like you're hanging out in the gravitron thing, right? That spins you around, the UFO that spins you around at like your local carnival ride, right? Like, outside is being manipulated, inside you're totally chill, right? So that would totally revolutionize our infrastructure as we know it.
Yeah,
right?
and if it's our technology, I could see exactly why they're keeping it classified and they're keeping it close to heart, because you can't have your enemies have that kind of technology. It's game changing. I think it also answers our question from the beginning: is why now? Why are they releasing this footage now? And with the radar technology is growing with our cameras in our pockets, privatized space exploration. I think it's just a matter of time before our government is going to start having to answer some questions when someone like you or me is out in space on just a ride to the moon for fun, and they're filming with their camera outside the window just to see that little blueberry in their hand out, planet Earth, and then they just see a series of lights just surround them just to monitor and surveil. Or, I mean, astronauts are constantly having sightings out in space that are classified.
Right.
But they're testimonials.
And I know that what we can touch on, in later episodes is you're referring to like Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and the touchdown, the first moon landing. I know you've got stuff on that you love, Dustin. Also, Edgar Mitchell, who was famously pro extraterrestrial and UFOs. Look, at the end of the day, UFOs stands for unidentified flying object. The military has rebranded them as UAPs, right? Unidentified aerial phenomenon. It's the same thing. It's just, to them,
essentially,
it's safer.
I mean,
it's
if you see an object, you see an object. Well, but what if you just see a series of lights? Is that an object, or is that a light? Like, those could be drones.
It's the same thing.
Is light object?
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
That's what
is just a wide, vague net that's the same as unidentified flying object. All a UFO just means is that it's flying in the air. It's an unidentified object, right? It's not walking along the ground. It's flying. So it's being more specific. Just like unidentified aerial phenomena means it's in the air, right? So the reason why I'm saying that is because they rebranded that to be safe. Right? You got to think about how much money and how many people work for the government. You don't think they have some sort of PR strategist, marketing firm who's like, whoa, okay, you want to go out there? Well, all right, man. Well, we can say it's real, but like, let's not say UFOs, because then we're gonna give the conspiracy theorist people exactly what they're looking for. So we're gonna call it something new, and it sort of sanitizes it. Do you not feel that? It's like they're saying it's real, but they're saying it in a way that makes it like it's real, but like not the way you think it's real.
Mm-hmm.
So your average person who's not hyped like we are with this stuff is going to be like, oh, okay, well it's real, but
UAP,
they're like
UAPs.
I've never heard of that. Yeah. So I don't really care about this, or it just doesn't like register in their feed. Like, dude, I'm obsessed with this stuff. My wife doesn't believe in any of this stuff, right? And what does she ask? I asked her one day, I said, you don't believe in this? How can you not believe in this? Right? Like, of all the knowledge, and you see me reading and creating all this information all the time, I said, you think that do you think I'm crazy? And she said, all she asked was, no, I think it could be real. I just want to see tangible proof. And I showed her the videos, and I showed her the videos, and I told her the story. I said, this is not me wishing it to be true, or like seeing a Polaroid from some random person's mountain hike and it's like a blurry saucer in the back and you're like, I don't know if that's real. This is the United States government saying, we caught this stuff on like fighter pilot cameras. So I'm not sure when you say, I think I'm open to the idea, I just need to see like proof. I'm not sure what else. How much more proof does one require? Like a dead body rolled out? Like I said, it's like it's not going to happen like movie style. It's going to be this like slow play. So I don't know.
Getting there. I think 2020 is the year, and it already kind of is. This is like such a big deal.
I don't know about 2020. I don't know about this year.
I'm going to keep hammering it home. 2020 was the year they admitted, hey, we have programs studying and surveilling these objects, these UAPs, and we don't know what they are. That's a big deal. And I don't think it's the media is just not covering it because the media controls everything. And we're also in a voting season coming up. So those news cycles will take their roles.
You're absolutely right, Dustin. I know we've had this talk before about media. People don't realize that the media is like mainstream media, especially. It's a business, right? So if the topic is not a sexy topic, or like, everyone should have heard, the cliche in media is if it bleeds, it leads, right? So like if a suicide bomber blows up a bus of women and children somewhere, that's going to be all over the front page, right? Like when Kobe dies in a helicopter crash, it's all we hear about for a week, right? R.I.P. Cobes. But when the United States government admits that UFOs are real, that's not a popular subject. It's not sexy.
It's tabloid. It's tabloid news.
Right.
It really is.
There's no celebrities involved. There's nothing sort of glamorous about it. They use really boring language to sort of play it down and like basically bury it. Like when I find space and like news like this stuff on CNN or whatever, you got to scroll all the way down to the bottom through the politics, through all the pandemic coverage and stuff, and then at the very bottom there'll be some sort of like crazy space breakthrough, like we're going to visit Venus again, we're going to go to Mars, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I'm glad it's getting some coverage and it's not just like being totally ignored. But it's just not there. And that's why I think things like this television show on History Channel, what we're trying to do, changing the public sentiment and conversation.
The Stars Academy.
Bringing this more mainstream. Yeah. I mean, look, you've got these videos coming out that TTSA was clearly integral in terms of getting it exposed. And what I've listened to in their podcast is that basically they're developing something called the Vault and an app called Scout, which is going to allow us all to...
I'm really excited about.
Right. We're going to all harness the power of the cell phone camera to be able to track these things. So we don't have to rely on the Pentagon and the military releasing their videos. We're going to start generating our own because these things are obviously happening more and more frequently. I don't know if it's going to be 2020, Dustin. I love your enthusiasm.
The way that 2020 is going, this will be the year that ET touches down and shakes the hand with our president.
We better hand sanitize the hell out of that because of COVID-19.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
if Tom DeLonge is the ambassador to Earth.
Yeah,
I would sign on for that.
With COVID-19, it makes you think like, should we want to know? Do we want this knowledge? Should we want ETs to know that they're here? Do we want them to touch down? Because what diseases are they going to bring? If this is what's going to happen during a pandemic, what diseases are they going to bring to this planet? And if they do, we're just going to burn down churches and buy up all the TP. It's just going to be chaos. It's just going to be more chaos. So, I mean, that's a big reason why none of this is being disclosed all at once. Like you said, it's a slow rollout. We're getting there because I think it's getting to a point where they're going to be forced eventually soon, I think in our lifetime, that this stuff is real.
Well, there's got to be a strategy to it, obviously, right? So in terms of like diseases and stuff like that, you're going a little War of the Worlds, Tom Cruise style. I love it.
Tom Cruise.
I love it.
Oh, isn't he good? What was the news that I heard? He's gonna be doing a movie in outer space. Like
he's got
that's
some
awesome.
deal. Got some deal with NASA.
Oh, I love it.
Actually,
was it with NASA or SpaceX?
It's with NASA. Yeah, right. NASA
Tom?
They're gonna try to go on the International Space Station and film, which would be really cool.
Oh, I love it. I'm excited.
You're talking about War of the Worlds, where the aliens were totally dominating, right? And then all of a sudden, like, what defeated the aliens was like the common cold. They couldn't exist. So I think it goes back and forth, right? If you're talking about like infections and stuff like that. I see what
you're saying.
Obviously, they could bring stuff to us, but what if they are unable to acclimate to Earth's conditions, right?
That's why they stay in their spacesuit. I mean, we're going to end up in bubbles anyways eventually. We're all stuck indoors and everyone's afraid to shake each other's hand. Might as well give me a bubble suit. The aliens got it right.
So, but I know I totally tumbled down there. So, look, UFOs are real. UAPs, whatever you want to call them, they're real. The government said they're real. We've got video proof. All this stuff is linked.
Big fucking deal.
It is a big deal. We're not saying aliens are real. At least I'm not yet. Dustin is. Dustin thinks they'll, we'll be shaking ET's hand by 2020. I don't. I think that disclosure. Here's my honest expectation: is if we can manage to keep ourselves alive for the next 20 to 30 years, I think that's a realistic expectation. I think that eventually all secrets, the truth will win out. I don't think that secrets last forever. And so when you're talking about Roswell, if you want to say that Roswell was sort of the, unofficial beginning of the UFO conspiracy cover-up era,
I wouldn't
that was
say
73 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's 73 years ago that, our government began the quote unquote cover up, right?
Well, it was the beginning of our technological boom. I'll tell you that.
Post World War II.
I fully believe we reverse engineered technology out of that, and that's the whole reason why our technology has exploded. I mean, just during my lifetime, to go from a computer that's like, here's a floppy disk, and you just have a black screen with green or orange type, to I have more technology in the pocket of my phone than we did in the capsule that landed on the moon.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
And in my lifetime, I'm only 35.
Right. I agree 100%. And technology just keeps growing exponentially, right? So like you mentioned earlier with the private space race, like I think there's a twofold sort of attack on the government's secrecy, okay?
Yeah.
And when I say government, again, I don't want people to think like big government, like there's some big giant. We're talking like some backroom small subset, which again in the Wilson notes, and if you read up on this stuff, it's actually not really like government elected officials. These are like private industry people that are sort of above and sort of under, they're not quite on the books anywhere. They're not quite being governed by any sort of laws. But anyway, the point is that we're getting to a point where I think if we can hold out in the next 20 to 30 years, they're going to have no choice but to come out with this stuff, because you've got the private space race. I mean, hell, SpaceX is saying now that they just put, the astronauts in there into the International Space Station over the summer, they're already saying that they're going to have private space travel by the end of 2021. We're
going to launch to Mars within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
We're going to Mars. That's what this is all about.
You're saying, if you've got little TicTac things circling and bugging airplanes during like conflict in war or in like training exercises, trying to, investigate the capability of our technology. What do you think they're going to do? Like you said, when you're on a rocket, shooting out into outer space, one after another, there's just going to be no way that you can hide from that. And then the other thing is, like I said, was with TTSA and the app and sort of like the power of the cell phone camera, everyone being able to be like, we'll talk about
in a future episode as well.
Yeah. Everyone being able to like, it's like crowdsourcing, eyewitnesses. You know what I mean? It's like your
power of information, man.
You put out a blast that like, yo, there's a UFO over top of Nashville, Tennessee right now, and 100 people pull out their phones. You instantly have a mass sighting, and the government's just not going to be able to like keep a lid on that for very long. You see what I'm saying? Technology.
That's what I'm saying. It's a matter of time. I want to make a gentleman's bet with you. You're saying 20 to 30 years. Full disclosure, aliens are real, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying less than 10. 2050? I'm saying less than 10 years from now. By 2030, we're going to know that there's intelligent life forms that are coming and going in our Earth, and we know about it. I'll take
10. That bet. Less than 10 years.
So all right, what's the wager? What's
2030?
Yeah, I'm saying 2030. You're saying 2050? Anywhere
if we're still doing this podcast... in 10 years, which I hope, the loser has to do the whole episode nude. Or the winner has to do it nude.
I mean, it's going to be chaos. Everyone's going to be nude.
Right.
I think we're going to have to take that. I'm going to have to take that bet. Let's take that.
I'll take that bet.
Then I have to wait for you to win. It's 30 years from now. You're saying we're going to do the podcast for 30 years.
Plus or minus.
I'm saying 10.
You say anything less than 10 years is you. As soon as we hit 10 years, I win, baby. So we're talking 2030.
No, there's a middle ground. There's a middle ground. If you don't get that, if you said
no, you took the under, I took the over. What are you talking about?
Well, then I want to change that. I want to.
No,
we can find a better wager.
All right, what are the Vegas odds?
You said 20, 30 years. We need a tiebreaker. Tomas, you need to come. Tomas, what do you think? I want to know what you think on this.
You got to do
Tomas, what did you hear?
10 over under. That's what you got to do.
Over under 10?
Yeah. Because if you're saying 10, if Dustin's saying 10, if it's not in 10, you lose.
He's saying 20 to 30 though.
Right.
Which is
anything over 10, I win. Anything under 10, you win.
Yeah. You're making it
straightforward.
You're making it more complicated.
All right. That's the wager. If we're still doing what if we're not doing the podcast?
We're still doing okay. Well, then loser has to show up to the whoever loses has to show up to the other person's daughter's graduation nude.
Oh shit!
Go streaking.
That's a lose, bro. What? No, I don't even think agree to that one. No, that was horrible.
Go streaking, dude. Frank the Tank. You come up with one.
We used to. I mean, shit. In college, all I needed was a couple drinks. I'll go streaking.
Right.
Tomas, what do you think? I want to know your opinion on this. We haven't heard from you all episode. I just want to kind of get a little bit of feel about what you're thinking on this topic.
Just in general.
You want to do a side bet? Who wins?
Are we just totally crazy?
No. I mean, I think aliens are real. The universe is far too massive for intelligent life not to be out there. Whether they're visiting Earth or not, I think that they are. I mean, those videos are insane, and
do you think they're otherworldly, or you think it's human technology?
I think it's possible that it's human technology still. Like I don't completely dismiss that. I think that is possible. Our own government or other governments. But when you have videos like that, you just think about the gap between technology that we know as civilians to something unknown. Like that gap has to be insane. So that means these governments are either our government or other governments have to have some pretty serious technological advances that are like things that we can't even really fathom. So
which has happened before in our past, our history, right, JT? The Industrial Revolution. I mean, us coming over here and just using our technology to take the land from the Native Americans, I mean, that technology to them was ridiculous, So another life form in another planet and another star system across the universe, it's not so crazy to think that they're thousands of years ahead of us in our technological era. I mean, we're only a couple hundred years into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So imagine having this knowledge thousands of years ahead. I mean, we're planning on going to another planet in the next 5 years. So I think that is completely plausible.
There's a couple things that you guys touched on that I that I'll sort of clean up again, which is you guys are spot on, right? So first and foremost, Dustin, you're talking about why is disclosure so slow? Why would we be scared of the technology and stuff? Well, we don't have to look very, very far back in our history. The United States of America is not a very old country, like you're talking about. Like, I think as humans, whatever our average life expectancy is, like 85 years old or something like that now. That's not a lot of time when you think about things that have been around forever, like the Earth, the universe, the sun. Millions of years, right? Like you are such like not even, you're like an ant, right? Yep. Compared to like a mountain. And we tend to lose sight of just kind of, unfortunately, how insignificant we are. That's why I said it could be really special if in the next 20 to 30 years that we are the generation of disclosure. That would be pretty freaking amazing, right?
10 years, less than 10 years.
Of course. Those are our thoughts, everybody. If you have thoughts, please feel free to visit the website at ibelieveinhumanspodcast.com. Let us know what you think, right? Click down in the comments if you're following us on the YouTube channel. Let us know what you think. Check out the Facebook and Instagram channel, right, Dustin? We're always looking for the people to follow and like and subscribe, right?
Smash that like button.
There you go, buddy. So make sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, guys, or wherever you get your podcasts. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Dustin, what do they got to look forward to in the next episode there?
Oh, we'll let you know what the terms of our bet is. And that is we will get full disclosure in less than 10 years.
Right.
Sticking by it. But
all right.
Stay tuned. Right. We're gonna dive into privatized space exploration next episode.
Privatized space exploration coming at you guys. So as always, stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening, guys. And always remember, when we realize how little we mean to the universe, we realize how important we are to each other. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day.
See you next time.